Is Jungkook quietly rewriting Bang Si-hyuk's philosophy? What his pre-stage mindset is really telling us, and why fans are starting to worry what if the words Jungkook whispered to himself before stepping on stage were not just self-motivation, but a quiet declaration of independence. What if, behind that calm smile and legendary discipline, there is a subtle rebellion growing? And what if fans have already begun to sense it, even before the industry dares to say it out loud? When Jungkook said, "Even if my face isn't perfect, that's my real singing face," was he simply being honest? Or was he quietly challenging the very system that shaped him? This is the question now burning across fan communities after his viral Rolling Stone Japan interview. A single statement about mindset has become a mirror reflecting something deeper, a possible shift in power, philosophy, and identity. Is this still Bang Si-hyuk's Jungkook? Or is this Jungkook becoming something entirely his own, from Seoul to Tokyo, from army timelines to industry boardrooms? One sentence has triggered 1,000 theories, and none of them feel accidental. The interview looked simple at first. Jungkook sat casually on a black sofa, dressed in a black leather jacket, gray pants, layered with necklaces and earrings. He greeted viewers with his familiar warmth. "Hello, this is Jungkook." He spoke about Japan, about shy but rhythmic Japanese army, about concerts that felt like breathing, about Sapporo's cold air, draft beer, and soup curry that stayed in his memory. Everything felt soft, human, safe. But then came the moment that changed the tone. Before going on stage, Jungkook admitted he still gets nervous. He said he tells himself to enjoy it, even if he cracks a note, even if something goes wrong. Then he said something that fans would replay again and again, slowing it down, translating it into dozens of languages, arguing over every word. He said that many people say appearance is important, expressions, outfits, visuals. But for him, there are only two things: singing and dancing. Everything else he shuts out, even if his face is not perfect, even if he doesn't look flawless. Because what matters is quality. People came to see the show, and as a performer, quality is everything. AT first. Fans applauded. This was Jungkook being real. Jungkook being serious about his craft. Jungkook refusing to be trapped by perfectionism. But slowly, another question began to rise. Why does this sound so much like Bang Si-hyuk? And yet, not exactly. For years, Bang Si-hyuk has been known for philosophy that challenged the K-pop industry. While many agencies built idols like flawless sculptures, Bang Si-hyuk famously said that music comes before visuals. Emotion before perfection. Story before surface. BTS was raised under that belief. Raw vocals, honest lyrics, sweat, cracks, tears, those were not mistakes. They were proof of life. So when Jungkook says he doesn't care if his face isn't perfect as long as his singing and dancing are real, fans hear echoes of that old philosophy. It sounds like Bang Si-hyuk speaking through him. But here is where the doubt begins. Bang Si-hyuk's philosophy was born as resistance to an industry obsessed with beauty standards. But Jungkook is now living inside a different reality. He is not an underdog. He is not fighting to be seen. He is one of the most powerful global stars alive. His face is literally used to sell luxury, fashion, beauty, fantasy. Every expression becomes a headline. Every frame becomes a product. So when he says he doesn't care about his face being perfect, fans ask, is this really inherited belief? Or is this exhaustion speaking? Because the industry today is not the industry that raised BTS. Now everything is filmed. Every angle, every blink, every breath becomes content. Even imperfection is curated. Even natural is marketed. Even vulnerability is edited. So what happens when an idol no longer wants to play that game? Jungkook's words did not sound angry. They did not sound dramatic. That is what made them dangerous. They sounded calm, final, like someone who has already made a decision inside his heart. I shut everything else out. That is not just a mindset. That is a boundary, and boundaries in this industry are revolutionary. Fans began to split into two emotional camps. One side says, this is pure Bang Si-hyuk. This is the training talking. This is the original BTS DNA. Music first. Performance first. Everything else is noise. The other side whispers, no. This is not training. This is survival, because Jungkook is no longer just performing for fans. He is performing for brands, cameras, algorithms, global markets that turn human beings into endless visual content. He is watched not only for how he sings, but how he breathes, eats, smiles, stands, blinks. Did I end that world? Choosing to care only about singing and dancing is not obedience. It is rebellion. A quiet one, not loud enough to break contracts, not sharp enough to cause scandal, but strong enough to protect his core. Look at how he described Japanese army. He noticed their rhythm, their pattern of cheering and silence. He did not describe them as loud or pretty or dramatic. He described them as meaningful. He listens to atmosphere, not just noise. That is not the mindset of someone chasing spectacle. That is the mindset of someone chasing truth. Then he talked about food, cold weather, draft beer, soup curry. These are not luxury fantasies. These are sensory memories, real experiences, simple pleasures, not staged. This tells us something about where his mind lives. IT does not live in perfection. IT lives in presence. But presence is dangerous in an industry that feeds on illusion, because illusion wants you to forget yourself. Presence forces you to remember. When Jungkook says he wants to enjoy the stage even if he cracks a note, he is rejecting fear as a control tool. Fear of mistakes is how idols are disciplined. Fear of backlash. Fear of screenshots. Fear of becoming a meme. When he says he tells himself to have fun, he is choosing freedom over fear. That Bang Si-hyuk's teaching? Partly, but here's the difference. Bang Si-hyuk built a philosophy to protect artists from the industry. Jungkook is now building a philosophy to protect himself from fame. That is not the same battle. The first is about creation. The second is about survival. And that is why fans feel something shifting, because Jungkook is no longer just carrying a philosophy given to him. He is editing it. He is simplifying it. He is turning it inward. Bang Si-hyuk said, "Music matters more than visuals." Jungkook says, "I only care about what I can control, singing and dancing." That is not ideology. That is self-defense, because you cannot control how people see your face. You cannot control how cameras frame you. You cannot control how the internet edits you. But you can control your voice. You can control your body. You can control your effort. That is the logic of someone who has learned, maybe painfully, that the world will take everything from you if you let it. So, he lets it take everything except what matters most. That is not rebellion against Bang Si-hyuk. IT is rebellion against the system that grew bigger than Bang Si-hyuk, and that is why fans feel uneasy. Because when idols start building internal walls, it means the outside world has become too loud, too hungry, too invasive. Jungkook's album Golden proved he can dominate charts, culture, fashion, streaming, trends. He does not need to prove anything anymore. So why does he still talk like someone fighting for quality? Because quality is not about winning. IT is about staying real. And staying real is the hardest thing to do when the world wants you as an image, not a human. Is this Bang Si-hyuk's teaching? Yes, but filtered through years of pressure. This Jungkook's personal evolution? Absolutely. Is this a quiet rebellion? Not against his roots, but against becoming empty. And that is why fans are both proud and afraid. Proud because he sounds strong. Afraid because strength often comes from having to defend yourself. When Jungkook says, "That's my real singing face," he is telling us something emotional. I am allowed to look human. I am an industry that sells gods. That sentence is radical. I am a world that profits from perfection. That sentence is dangerous. And maybe that is why it feels so powerful. Because behind that calm voice, behind that soft smile, there is a message that cannot be edited. I will not disappear into your expectations. I will stand on stage as I am, even if I crack, even if I sweat, even if my face is not perfect, because what you came for is not my image. You came for my truth, and that truth, whether taught by Bang Si-hyuk or born from pain, now belongs to Jungkook alone. The real question is no longer whether this is education or rebellion. The real question is this: when an idol chooses truth over perfection, who is really being challenged? The teacher who raised him, or the world that refuses to let him breathe? And yet, fans cannot help but ask, how much of this real Jungkook is visible and how much is carefully concealed? Because the truth is, The world never stops watching. Every step he takes on stage, every flicker of an eyelid, every gesture is scrutinized, dissected, and shared across millions of screens. In that environment, claiming to focus only on singing and dancing is not just a choice. It is a fortress. The Rolling Stone Japan clip sparked an immediate storm on social media. Threads exploded on X, TikTok compilations multiplied, and translations poured in from corners of the globe. "He's rejecting the spotlight on his face," one fan wrote. "He's saying quality matters, but I see freedom in that," another tweeted. The conversations were layered: admiration, worry, speculation, and, increasingly, curiosity about the unseen pressures Jungkook faces. Industry insiders watching the interview quietly nodded. They know that K-pop idols, no matter how seasoned, rarely speak this openly about ignoring appearances, especially when their faces are practically trademarks for fashion houses, luxury brands, and global campaigns. Jungkook's calm yet firm words are unusual, almost revolutionary, within an environment where every idol is groomed to be flawless, visual perfection wrapped in a polished persona. And here lies the tension that makes this moment so electric. Bang Si-hyuk's philosophy, famously prioritizing music over visuals, laid the foundation for BTS's authenticity. But authenticity in 2026 exists in a hyper-commercialized, hyper-mediated world. The world wants Jungkook to perform as a product, to smile perfectly, move perfectly, and appeal visually while keeping every note on cue. Jungkook is walking a tightrope that his mentor never had to navigate, balancing purity of art with a global visual economy that exploits every inch of his image. When he says, "I shut everything else out," it is more than pre-stage preparation. It is self-preservation. He is reclaiming control, refusing to let external pressures dictate his value. And fans feel it. There is a subtle shift in energy. Jungkook is no longer just the golden magne who obeys, learns, and executes. He is the artist who decides what matters most. Some fans interpret this as a silent rebellion, not against Bang Si-hyuk, but against the world around him. The world that transforms music into content, performance into spectacle, humans into icons. Jungkook's rebellion is quiet, almost invisible, but no less potent. It is rebellion with intention, discipline, and thought. Consider the nuance in his description of Japanese army. He admired the rhythm of their cheers, the way they could cheer perfectly and suddenly fall silent. That ability to notice subtleties reflects Jungkook's deeper artistic mind, a performer not chasing loudness, attention, or spectacle, but meaning, presence, and connection. This is not the energy of someone performing for adoration. It is the energy of someone performing for resonance. Even his casual remarks about Sapporo, cold weather, draft beer, soup curry, carry weight. These are sensory experiences, grounded, real, human. They contrast sharply with the hyper-curated celebrity life. In the small pleasures, we see a Jungkook who prioritizes authenticity over image, substance over perfection, experience over aesthetics. And that mindset feeds directly into his approach on stage. He performs to give, not to impress, to be felt, not photographed. Critically, this mindset also reveals Jungkook's growing autonomy. While Bang Si-hyuk provided the foundational philosophy, music over appearance, Jungkook now applies it in a world that has shifted far beyond the mentor's original context. He is not merely following teaching, he is adapting it. He is filtering guidance through experience, pressure, and personal values. And that filtering process creates tension, curiosity, and speculation among fans. Is this still the Jungkook molded by Bang Si-hyuk, or is it the Jungkook who quietly rewrites the rules for himself? Fans are emotionally invested because this evolution mirrors their own journeys with him. They have watched him grow from a shy trainee into a global icon, always striving for perfection, always learning, always performing. To see him establish boundaries, to claim control over what matters, is both inspiring and frightening. It signals maturity, self-respect, and, paradoxically, vulnerability. Because choosing what to protect means consciously allowing other pressures to exist outside one's control. Even more provocative is the implication for the K-pop industry at large. Jungkook's words and mindset suggest that idols can survive and even thrive without surrendering entirely to the machinery around them. They can define their own priorities. They can insist on truth over spectacle. In a system often criticized for exploitation and rigid control,